Hello everyone, and welcome to this, my first music video, and I will be showing you my Queen collection. Queen, one of my favourite rock bands, as you can probably tell. I have a number of DVDs as well as the CDs here, so I might do another video showing you my Queen DVDs if you so request it. Depends on how well this video does. So there we go, there's the entire Queen album catalogue there, from 1973 up to 1995. So let's crack on with the first album, which is the self-titled album, Queen, fittingly. Yeah, and there's the back. Really like this album, really great album. What I like about it, it's very primitive, it's very raw, it's very rock and roll. Even dabbling in some sort of hard rock or heavy metal, you might want to call it. So let's go through the booklet. So there we go. So with this you just get the lyrics and a few pictures taken from the original album back cover sleeve. There we go. The Fab Four. That's the Beatles, but they were pretty fab. So there we go, and then we just get what else you can get in the collection. So one of my favourite albums, Queen 1 or Queen. So singles like Keep Yourself Alive, Liar, and then you've got Doing Alright, Great King Rap, My Fairy King, Son and Daughter, and of course the teaser for 7 Seas of Rye, which would become a single a year later. Just a great album in general, really. Next one we have is one of my favourites, Queen 2. And there we go, there's the picture that inspired the music video Bohemian Rhapsody. This was released a year before that. So there's the back cover. And again, the 7 Seas of Rye is this version that came out as a single. And then you've got songs like Father to Son, White Queen As It Began, Ogre Battle, The March of the Black Queen. So there's some really great songs on here. It's kind of a sort of concept album or a prog album in some regards. Some people have said that about this. Yeah, it does feel like it has a kind of a theme running through it. But again, like Queen, the first album, it's very edgy, sort of the hard rock, heavy metal kind of sound. That was a black and white photo, but in the original album sleeve, it was in colour as a gatefold with the black side and white side to the album. So there we go, that's the booklet. Great album, some real great songs, and as you can see there was only one single that appeared on this album, so it sort of, the fact that it can carry itself as a full album without many singles on it, like some of their other albums, sort of is a testament to how good it was. And then they sort of perfected the style which they were to be made famous for in this album, Sheer Heart Attack, from the same year. Through a lot of the production, Brian May was ill, recovering in hospital, so the guitar parts were added later. If we have a look at the album tracks, we've got Brighton Rock, the hit single Killer Queen, Flick of the Wrist, Lily of the Valley, Now I'm Here, which was another hit single, In the Lap of the Gods, Stone Cold Crazy. You know, there's Bring Back That Leroy Brown, which was quite an interesting kind of camp, very Freddie Mercury type of song, and The Lap of the Gods revisited. So another really great album, one of my favourites again. So there's the CD and there's the back cover artwork. So we'll take this out and we'll go through it. So yeah, Killer Queen was the single that really broke them in the charts and got them recognised. So the studio production on this is pretty amazing for 1974, with all the overdubbed and relayered, multi-layered harmonies, like I said, which would become Queen's sort of trademark. Really sort of took shape in this album, and yeah, a lot of people would say up to this point this would be their best album. I slightly prefer Queen 2, but it's a very close thing. And next we have the almighty heavyweight champion of Queen albums, A Night at the Opera. Yes, this is my favourite album, judging by my description just then. I bought the 2011 remaster because I just thought I need to hear it remastered. You just look at the track listing: Death on Two Legs, Lazing on a Sunday Afternoon, I'm in Love with My Car, You're My Best Friend, 39, Seaside Rendezvous, the classic The Prophet's Song, Love of My Life, and of course the monster monster. Here we go. Let's come on, take a breath. The monster single that is Bohemian Rhapsody. Just got so overwhelmed by how amazing this track is, I just lost the ability to speak. And of course the God Save the Queen, which was used as their outro to a majority of their concerts. So many of these songs could have been hit singles. This is the best album for me. And if we take the disc off for this one, we've got the logo underneath. Very nice. And then the booklet. So the back's kind of a recreation of the original LP. And again, we just get the lyrics. Of course, Bohemian Rhapsody was over 5 minutes. So in the singles chart, that was just seen as something that just didn't happen. So a lot of people did try and convince Queen not to release it as a single, but they did. And through the likes of the comedian at the time and radio DJ Kenny Everett, who stole a copy of the song and played it 14 or so times over the weekend of its release, got it elevated to the hit single that it became, and it became one of their biggest selling records. And basically up to the third album, the band basically were earning no money from the record companies. They were conning them, which is the inspiration behind Death on Two Legs. And then they said, go out and make the best album you can under their new producers, and this is what they came up with. And it was very hard after that to match it. I've got these the wrong way around, excuse-moi. So the follow-up to A Night at the Opera was A Day at the Races. So A Night at the Opera and Day at the Races, of the same title as the classic Marx Brothers films. This had a big mantle to, yeah. This was basically, it had a hard act to follow, that's the words I'm looking for. Just so overwhelmed. Yeah, had a very hard act to follow after Night at the Opera, and a lot of people didn't rate this album as highly because, you know, Night at the Opera. But when you've got tracks like Tie Your Mother Down, You Take My Breath Away, The Millionaire Waltz, Somebody to Love, Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy, you know, you've got some real classic tracks on here, some that were very much a part of the Queen playlist in their live concerts, and considered classics. I love this album personally, it's one of my favourites again. Definitely would put this in my top 4 or 5. So there's the front, similar to the Night at the Opera in design, and there's the 4 of them. So that's from, I think that's from the Hyde Park concert from 1975-76. And again, you just get the lyrics in here. And the remasters you could buy. So that is A Day at the Races, another classic Queen album. And then you had the 1977 release, News of the World. Now, News of the World, Jazz, and The Game, I feel they have a sort of similar style in terms of the production. Very varied, very different sound. There's rock, there's blues, there's heavy metal, there's punk that features on this album. There's sort of disco almost, particularly in Jazz and The Game. Very varied styles of music, and the 3 albums I find very hard to separate, but out of the 3 I'd probably say that this one is the slightly better of the 2. I mean, when you've got tracks like We Will Rock You, We Are the Champions, Sheer Heart Attack, Spread Your Wings, Get Down, Make Love, It's Late, and My Melancholy Blues, it's just a great album, all round. And there we go, and there's the inner part of the sleeve, or the back of the sleeve. These are quite difficult to get out when you're only using one hand. The other hand's on the camera, just to clarify. A nice vibrant red. And I believe this was the international or the American front cover as opposed to the British cover, which was like this. And of course, We Will Rock You has become one of the most recognisable Queen songs, written by Brian May, and We Are the Champions, nearly just as well known, which was a Freddie Mercury composition. So yeah, great album, great tracks on it. And next we have Jazz. Now, I love this album. Like I said, I would probably put it just behind News of the World. A lot of people have mixed feelings about this album, but again, when you have tracks like Mustafa, which is quite a humorous track, the single Fat Bottom Girls, the ballad Jealousy, this another single with Bicycle Race, Let Me Entertain You, In Only 7 Days, Fun It, Don't Stop Me Now, and More of That Jazz. It's just a great album. There is so much variety, and you got that from the very beginning with Queen. There was a lot of variety, but from sort of, I would say from sort of Night at the Opera up until The Game, they were very varied in the different styles that they used for their albums. So here's the lyric sheet. There we go, there they are. A lot of guitars there, and nice set of drums. And I'm waffling, but bear with me. And there we go. And there's the back. So that is Jazz. Good album, very, very good album. There was not really a bad album by Queen, really. Some people may disagree, but I wouldn't say there's actually what you call a terrible album where you just couldn't listen to. Some might pick one or two. And here's The Game, their first album of the 80s. And there's the back. Again, great tracks. Play the Game, Dragon Attack, Another One Bites the Dust, which was probably their biggest selling single, certainly was in America. It broke them in America and made them at that point one of the biggest bands in the world. Crazy Little Thing Called Love was another classic. Sail Away, Sweet Sister, Coming Soon, Save Me. You know, can't knock a bit of Queen. Obviously my favourite band is, like so many others, the Beatles. I have got a huge collection of DVDs and CDs and vinyl collection of the Beatles, so if you like that as well, thumbs up and leave me comments if you want to see those as well. And there's Freddie rocking the new moustache, and more lyric sheets. And there's Brian, John Deacon, who came up with the song Another One Bites the Dust, and of course the great Roger Taylor, a very underestimated drummer. I think he's a great drummer. For me, he's up there with the likes of John Bonham, Keith Moon, Ginger Baker, and Ringo Starr. Some people again might laugh that off, but I thought Ringo Starr, particularly for the Beatles, was just a perfect drummer for them. And here we are, the soundtrack to Flash Gordon, probably my least favourite album, not because it's bad, but it's a soundtrack album. So the majority of the songs in this are just soundtrack, basically music accompaniment, other than the track Flash and the ending, which was, what was it called? I think it's called The Hero. Yeah, The Hero. It's good to listen to, but there's nothing spectacular in there other than the single Flash. Actually, the album version is slightly different to the single version, as it doesn't have so much audio from the actual film featured in it. There we go, and there's the back. So yeah, not much to really say about Flash. It was a soundtrack album. It was good for what it is. A bit like Yellow Submarine for the Beatles. It's a soundtrack album predominantly, and it's good for what it is. Now here's a controversial one, Hot Space. Again, a lot of people really despise Hot Space because of the disco theme, and I can understand maybe at the time when it came out, I could understand why people hated it. But listening to it now, when you were brought up in a time that you know, you weren't around when Queen were around like myself, I can listen to this with a different sort of perspective. And for what it is, it's not a bad album. It's all right. It's not one of my favourites, but there are some good songs on there. Standing Forever is a good one. Back Chat is quite good. Action This Day is a good one. Life Is Real, Song for Lennon, that's probably my least favourite one, as well as Calling All Girls. And of course it's got Las Palabras del Amor, The Words of Love, which is a great ballad. Cool Cat is alright. And of course it's got the David Bowie Queen collaborations, Under Pressure, which is a great single and a nice fit for the album as well. Next we have, probably, other than The Game, this is probably the best album of the 80s for Queen. This is the 1984 album, The Works. And yeah, really like this album. Great tracks on it. We've got Radio Gaga, Tear It Up, It's a Hard Life, Machines or Back to Humans, I Want to Break Free, which is probably my favourite song of the 80s from Queen. Hammer to Fall, Is This the World We Created? Just some of the songs on this album. Better songs on this album. Only 9 tracks on this album, but they're all very, very good. Really enjoy this album. And again, a nice vibrant red in the lyric sheet. Not very many pages on this one, which is probably best because this video is already running 16 minutes. Next we have the 1986 A Kind of Magic. Now yes, there are some great tracks on here, but I don't rate this album as highly as others purely because it feels very sort of unbalanced. It feels like 2 albums that they didn't finish and they've just thrown the best tracks together, because it feels like half a soundtrack album and half a Highlander, half a Highlander soundtrack album, half a studio album. So we've got great tracks like One Vision, A Kind of Magic, Friends Will Be Friends, Who Wants to Live Forever, and Princes of the Universe. But something pretty much, other than the songs that I mentioned, the other songs are good, but not really great as such. So there's the back cover. And the album artwork I don't really like very much. So there we go, the lyric sheet. Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of this artwork. And of course this album came after their legendary performance at Live Aid. The band were not on a very hot streak at this point until Live Aid, and then they sort of propelled themselves back into the mainstream again, and then in '86 they did the famous Wembley concerts. And then they produced this album, The Miracle, and this was at a time that sadly Freddie had been diagnosed as HIV positive, and I think he did end up getting AIDS around this sort of time. And a really great, very unique album style cover there. But I think this is one of their better albums personally. The Party, The Miracle, I Want It All, The Invisible Man, Breakthrough, Scandal, Was It All Worth It? Some really great tracks on here. And there's the background cover at the back. All the eyes looking at me. Very unnerving. And if we go through the booklet. Yeah, so when this album was being made, Freddie wasn't very well. Although he hadn't come out publicly and said what he was suffering from, there was a lot of speculation at this point, and a lot of fans at the time would have believed that this was going to be actually the last Queen album. But it wasn't. It was the second to last official Queen album with Freddie involved in the production, and that was this one, Queen Innuendo. One of their best albums as well, definitely in my top 10. And if you look at the tracks listing, Innuendo, I'm Going Slightly Mad, Headlong, I Can't Live With You, Ride the Wild Wind, These Are the Days of Our Lives, The Hitman, Bijou, and of course the classic, The Show Must Go On. Some really great tracks on here, and they're just sort of the hits really. And the other tracks, it all blends, it all feels like it fits. All the tracks sort of fit with this sort of album theme, really. It's a really great album, and this was the last album to be released during Freddie Mercury's lifetime, sad as it is, and as sad as it was. But there's some really great tracks on here. Really good album, really strong one to finish on during Freddie's last year or two on this mortal realm. And then we get this. This is not really a Queen album, in my opinion, Made in Heaven. It is a Queen album because, you know, Freddie does sing on pretty much all the tracks. But other than a handful of tracks, which are Mother Love, You Don't Fool Me, and A Winter's Tale, they were original Freddie Mercury Queen compositions whilst he was still alive. They were new compositions. All the other songs are either sort of Freddie Mercury doing his version of songs that were either on his solo album, or alternative versions that were meant to be released but never were, or tracks like Too Much Love Will Kill You, which was really a Brian May song, which he released as a single. Then they also did an edit with Freddie Mercury on vocals, which didn't get released. So other than 3 or 4 tracks, you know, this is pretty much not really a Queen album as such, but I could understand what they were trying to do, and it's commendable that they tried to carry on and finish on this sort of somber, melancholy note. But it just it works, but it's not terrific. I would have rather they had just released an extended play, or released the new Freddie compositions as singles only, rather than releasing it. They didn't need to release it as an album, personally, or, you know, like I said, an EP would have been enough. But there we go. It's done now, it's here, and it is worth a listen. There are some great tracks on here. And so there we go. So now I will quickly run through my top 15 Queen albums. So at number 15 is Flash Gordon, and at number 14 is Queen Made in Heaven. At number 13 I would put Hot Space. At number 12 would be A Kind of Magic. Number 11 would be The Miracle. This is of course only my opinion. If you don't share the same opinion, that's fine. You know, leave your comments below, tell me which one's your favourite list. And number 10, The Works. Actually, I'll put Innuendo at number 10, and then The Works at number 9, just purely because it's got I Want to Break Free and Hammer to Fall and Radio Gaga. You know, that's the album I'll probably listen maybe a bit more. Then The Game, Jazz, and News of the World next. So that is the top. That's at the top 6. So 6, 7, 8, and all 3 of these are very close. But I think Jazz is slightly better than The Game, and News of the World at the moment is I'm enjoying that more than Jazz. So at this moment, these 2 are quite interchangeable, but at the moment, News of the World. At number 5 is the debut album Queen. Number 4, the Day at the Races. Number 3, Sheer Heart Attack. Number 2, Queen 2. And of course at number 1 it has to be A Night at the Opera. So there we go, that's my top 15, and that is my Queen CD collection. Maybe one day I will end up splashing out on the vinyl box set. Just need the funds, really. But there we go. So I hope you like this video, and don't forget, like, subscribe, share and comment, and I will see you folks on the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.